What up, Gravity Gang? Welcome to episode 10. Today, we're joined by a very, very special guest, Teo. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, guys, bro? Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Mate, it's amazing to have you. We've talked about this for a little while.
Yeah.
And funny enough, just like I said before we started the podcast, we used to watch you back in the day, which is mad. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm sure our viewers probably know who you are, but a little intro would be good.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Tayo, also known as Abnormal Beings. I started like a YouTube channel when I was like 17, 18 years old. So I just wanted to document kind of my progress with Cali. And like I started it up with a friend of mine called Nev. So shout out him. But me and him used to train together in the parks, just mainly because we wanted to get stronger for football. So I used to play football a lot back in the day, you know, obviously dreamt to be a footballer and stuff. A lot of my friends play pro, but yeah, man, I wanted to get stronger on the pitch and I didn't really want to lift weights and be too bulky. So I was like, what's the next best alternative? And then did some research and started to watch like Bar Stars, Hannibal for King, all these guys on YouTube. And then, yeah, they were just really like, I saw the benefits of Cali, like the strong core, and I could see how it could transfer onto the pitch, you know, with the balance side of things as well. So I was like, let me just train this. So like after college, I used to always go to the park and just go in and like, yeah, man, just over time started to really go down the rabbit hole, do a lot of research, you know, bought books. Overcoming Gravity was my first book to read, and like, just, again, watching a lot of other guys on YouTube and learning from people in the parks. And then, yeah, man, started to just take that more seriously. And then, yeah, it's always been part of my life growing up. And then I went to uni, I studied accounting and finance. So I powered through, but it wasn't really for me.
Wasn't for you, yeah. I literally, Sam and I both we were in corporate. I was in corporate.
Got you, yeah.
I was in consulting.
Okay,
just couldn't hack it.
Yeah, man. So literally after that, I was like, you know what? Like I've been working in gyms part time as well because I've always had fitness in the back of my mind. And then after uni, I was like, you know what? Let me just do this full time. So became PT, started working in like the Pure Gym in Hammersmith, and then I was there for 3 years. And then whilst I was there, obviously just building up the socials, and then got to a stage where I'm like. Just when lockdown came, just go solo. And then, yeah, man, just started to do everything just kind of more Cali related. And now I like coach people online and in person. And then, yeah, do a lot of content stuff. So
where's the one thing that really intrigues me? Because I think it's sick. Your name, Abnormal Beings, is so sick. Yeah. Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's true. You know what? I think, so it was me and my friend, Nev, the guy that when we started, we were like, okay, we wanted to just, show what we've achieved and stuff, and we're thinking, what's a cool name that we could have as like a channel? And we're like thinking abs, obviously, muscles or whatever, and then like, human beings, like something like, so we were just like, could be abnormal, because it's like, it's not normal, it's different. And then, yeah, I was just like human beings. So that's why it's the S, because it was me and him. So that's why it's Abnormal Beings. So,
yeah, that's cool. So I want to ask, what was the one turning point where you were like, I'm no longer into football, I'm now a calisthenics athlete? Was it a particular skill you learned, or?
So I've been playing semi-pro football right up until I was like 26, so since like 2 years ago. So it's always been a part of my life. Like I've loved football. So I didn't really give it up, but I would say the transition was as soon as I kind of finished uni. That's when I kind of cut down on football and went really down the PT route and tried to grow my business and, get the name out there.
So who do you support?
I'm an Arsenal fan.
MashaAllah, well done.
Come on, top of the league. So yeah.
It's funny because behind the camera we've also got Mark, who we've interviewed before, and he supports Arsenal as well. So I'm sure he's gassed about this.
Full good, is it? We love it.
That's awesome, man. So obviously, I mean, I played football pretty much my whole life as well. Never to your level,
No.
But it's sick to see that, someone who's come from a different sport apply it to calisthenics.
100%. Like, I think it definitely helped with my footballing side of things. Like, obviously, the look plays a big part, especially when you play in these, like, English level, like, leagues, like, non-league level. They're just looking for, like, obviously, big, tonky guys. And obviously, I'm not like that, but it does help when you're a bit more aesthetically looking on the pitch and stuff. So it definitely helped me. And in terms of strength and stuff, you can really see how, not even just football, like, any other sport, like, how it can help. So it just, because obviously, you already know you're engaged in everything, so you're just a lot more in tune with your body. So I feel like that side of Cali brings a lot of kind of transferable, I guess, strength to other skills, like other sports and stuff. So
yeah, I was going to ask specifically, obviously football is very leg dominant or lower body. Have you seen much carryover to calisthenics specifically?
From football to Cali?
Yeah.
Not so much. More Cali to football, like as in like upper body wise, yeah. Because you still need to use your upper body on the pitch to, like, whether it's to like fend off a defender or like you use your body weight. But you're right, it's very very much leg focused. So I'll still have to train my legs, in the gym. So I still used to, like, I've been mixing weights and Cali like for it. I've never just been on Cali. I've always told people that I mix weights and calisthenics. You know, I feel like that's like the perfect kind of balance. You get the best of both, you know.
I mean, we've seen it on your Instagram recently. You've been squatting big numbers, man.
Oh, no.
For a Cali athlete,
I'm trying, man. I've got these two thick legs, man. I'm trying to get these numbers up. But no, it's good. Like, leg training is great. Like, I just feel like it boosts, you know, testosterone. It's like, it's such like a great lift, and especially like your lower half is just as important as the top half. Like, I want to be overall balanced, you know. I don't want to just neglect one part of my body. And again, for football, like, it's so important to have, you know, strong legs, you know. So
yeah, no, that's such a good point. I mean, we actually trained one of our guys. He's also a footballer, and he's seen phenomenal gains on the pitch, just through the training that we've done.
Amazing.
But what, you know, one thing I guess we actually talked about this with Pat Chads on episode 6. How well do you feel like the cardio aspect has carried over to calisthenics? Because not a lot of people talk about that at all.
That's very true. Like, I feel it just depends how you train. Like, if you're doing a lot of like AMRAPs and EMOMs or stuff like that, where you're kind of, you know, have limited rest time, like, you can still get a really good cardio workout if you're doing just like bodyweight movements like pull-ups or, you know, weighted pull-ups or, you know, chin-ups or any kind of, you know, bodyweight exercise. It's just more so how you train, I guess, how you kind of structure it. Because you can get a very good cardio workout, especially if you do like supersets as well. Like, they gas me out, you know. If you did like a set of weighted pull-ups, then drop the weight, go into bodyweight pull-ups, you're going to be blowing. Like, it feels like a cardio workout as well. So I think, yeah, cardio-wise, it just depends how you structure your training, you know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely this myth, specifically in calisthenics, that it's either, even if you go for like a run, oh, I'm going to lose my planche, I'm going to lose all my gains. Like, people really think that like cardio does not mix well with calisthenics. But the way that I would kind of, my rebuttal to that would be, any Olympian at any super high level, let's take gymnasts for example, I can guarantee that they do cardio
100%.
on a weekly basis. So I think there's cardio as well that probably has nothing to do, because you're definitely right, you could do AMRAP and then that's kind of specific cardio for your sport, but I guarantee they probably get on the elliptical or go for a run.
Of course, yeah. You still need to definitely do some other form of cardio. Like, again, if you're trying to get bigger, like, the more muscle you have, the more oxygen your body needs. You know, you need to actually walk around and be active and stay active if you want to get bigger as well. It's very important. It's just, again, making sure that you're not just doing marathons maybe every day, because that would be a bit more detrimental to
there's definitely like a kind of I think there's a middle ground.
Exactly, middle ground. But as long as you're keeping active, and I think that's the main thing. Then,
I would also say, like, for recovery it's important. I mean, the better your cardiovascular system is, the better you'll recover. So that's personally the reason why I do cardio.
No, 100%.
Also, I just like the feeling, like, when you go for a run afterwards. I don't do too much of it, but
no, definitely. And I think that's why I've continuously played football. Like, right up until like now 26. Like, I'm 28 now, so even now actually I play for fun more. So not as competitive, but still, like, I do football like once or twice a week, because that's just like my kind of cardio, if that makes sense, where I like really go in and just blow out. So I think it's very important to have, and obviously with the sport, it's a bit of a distraction. It doesn't really feel like a workout. You can just like have fun with it.
I've got a very funny question, because you just mentioned your age. Obviously we're 27. You're at that kind of peak age of man, I guess, where you're 20.
30.
Yeah, so one question I want to kind of dive into, perhaps no one's ever asked you this on a podcast, right? Or at least I'm sure, because obviously you've been on Fitness FAQs and Gore Nation. How has calisthenics transferred to dating?
No, definitely. I feel like it builds confidence. Like, especially if you're more like, I guess, if you feel like you've got an aesthetic physique going on for yourself, and like you feel strong, naturally you're gonna portray yourself as a lot more confident. And especially with Cali, like your posture in general, it just like opens up, I feel. So you just walk around like with a different kind of, you know, glow to you. I feel like it definitely has helped with confidence, for sure. Especially when I was younger. I think when I was younger, I was a lot more skinnier. And I feel like once you start to see actual gains and people start to realize that it does make you feel good, and definitely you can see, like, obviously you're going to attract female attention as well. So it's a bonus, you know, like, it's definitely helped, I feel, for sure.
I definitely feel like strength is also massively understated. Everyone always focuses on the aesthetic part, which is true. Obviously, if you're confident in how you look naked in the mirror, you're going to be more confident
100%.
day-to-day life, but also being strong. I mean, I don't know for you, but whenever I do a PR, whenever I do a really heavy weighted pull, I actually feel more confident throughout the day
100%.
Than when I just look at myself. So I think Cali is kind of the best, because you get the best of both worlds. You get insane aesthetics and you get stupidly ridiculous strength as well. So it's really the best of both.
100%. And like, again, just having that feeling of like, you are strong, you can be in control of this, what you can, you know what I mean? it gives you that self-confidence to really, you know, thrive in, I guess, in the dating scene. So
it's kind of like that meme, I don't know if you've seen it, where there's two people in the corner of a party and it's just like, oh, they don't know, so they don't know I can planche.
Trust me, yeah, for real. Literally,
they probably don't care, but
but exactly, they wouldn't know. But again, you know deep down that you can do this, and like I think it definitely helps build confidence for sure when it comes to like the dating scene. So yeah,
you heard it from the man himself, right? Stop simping, guys. Get to the Cali Park, do some pull-ups, learn to muscle up, and then you end up like him. Yeah. Another thing on the topic of age is obviously you've been doing this for a very long time, right? Yeah, I mean, as we said at the start, we used to watch you back when we started, before we started.
Jeez,
exactly, even at uni. And you know, one thing I guess a lot of people don't talk about is how they've stayed in this sort of mindset that you've had, where you've been building for so long. How have you kept yourself so motivated and disciplined for, you know, a decade?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think it helps when this is kind of now more a career path for me, if that makes sense. So like the content side of things was more of a hobby, especially while I was at uni, and obviously, you know, getting into PT, it was still kind of that side hobby, and again, just more to show progress. But then as the years have gone by and when I've really gone down the PT route, you can kind of see how it tailors into a career path, and like how if you take this more seriously, then you're going to generate clients, you're going to generate income. So it's like, you know what I mean? It helps over the years, like, and to being consistent, like having that kind of, this be a career path, if that makes sense. That's what I feel like why I've stayed so consistent. And again, obviously just trying to mix up the training. I think like if it was solely just Cali, I think that you may get a little bit bored, obviously, but having that mix of added like weight training, resistance training with calisthenics, I think that's always kept me like, you know, in a balanced state, and, you know, not made me, I guess, get bored and stuff, and made me continuously train over the years. So.
Yeah, I think that last point's definitely understated. Like even just calisthenics itself has so many disciplines: freestyle, dynamics, statics, and then AMRAPs, sets and reps, weighted. That it's kind of hard to get bored of calisthenics.
Exactly. There's so much variety, and I think, like you say, it's hard to get bored. Like if you're getting bored of doing sets and reps, you just do some statics. Like if you get bored of statics, you can just go do some I don't know, other weighted training. It's ridiculous. Like there's so many options out there for you. So I think that's what keeps me going, and I'm sure everyone else as well.
It's funny because each one of those kind of disciplines can really send you down a rabbit hole. Like you can spend years focusing on one thing, so it's not only will you never get bored, it's like each one, they all get lumped under calisthenics, but they all each deserve their own specific, kind of how like in gymnastics you've got all the different events, and you'll have people who are specialists who've trained 10 years specifically just on the rings. It's the same in calisthenics. So like you'll have people who are just static athletes and people who are just weighted. So
exactly.
I think
yeah, no, I was just going to say one thing I really like about you, and this is an ethos that we share as well, is we don't like to limit ourselves just to one thing. So you got a lot of guys in calisthenics who are either statics, you got dynamics, or they're reps or weighted or whatever. But one thing, and I think this is so, it's so topical with your name as well, Abnormal Beings, is you're on this kind of path to finding your genetic potential and surpassing it, and that's something that, you know, Sam and I, we're massive on with Versus Gravity.
100%. I feel like it's important to, you know, explore and expand different training methods, because one, you're not going to get bored, like you said, and also, like you said, it's you're getting the benefit of all kinds aspects of training, you know, and it's like you said, being the best version of yourself, you know, like why limit yourself to one training style when you can like explore and, you know, have a taste of everything, I feel. So yeah, I think like it's just a great mindset to have, and kind of having that goal where you want to explore everything will just keep that longevity when it comes to your training going, you know, and avoid plateaus and you getting bored, I think, for sure.
So what would you say is your favorite discipline within calisthenics, or even in your training?
Yeah, no, I think like I've always got a love for statics, just because again it's so hard, and it's very like, it does take time, like you can't rush it. It's very much different to sets and reps kind of training. Like if your joints aren't ready for the hold or the move, then they're not ready. You literally have to be patient, and it's a very like humbling kind of experience. But again, it's so rewarding, because once you have it, it's like you can just do it on demand, and like whenever anyone else tries it, they're like, oh, this looks all right. And then they're like, what? How the hell is he floating like that in a planche or a lever? It's like, it does take time. So I think because it's so hard, it's just so much more rewarding. And I think that's why it's like kind of what I kind of love, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, like one thing I wanted to touch upon in this podcast in particular was your training method for something like statics, because you know, we've watched all your content. I'm sure a lot of our viewers have seen your content as well. You've got a very well-rounded understanding of how to train those things. Quite obviously, because you can do them, right? So one thing I want to, I guess, dive into a little bit is, what is the best, or in your opinion, what is the best or most effective training protocol for front lever planche, if you had to structure it that way?
I think it obviously is very dependent on the individual, but like, I think if you're practicing the actual movement, then you're going to get better at it. I think that's always been my kind of like ethos, if that makes sense. Like whether it be using bands to regress the movement or like doing certain regressions, like if you're actually practicing that movement pattern, you're going to get better at that movement pattern. So I think you should always include, if you're training for the front lever, some kind of isometric hold of the front lever, you know what I mean? Because that's just the standard. Like you need that, if that means you need the straight arm strength. So I feel like if you include in that, and then you have other things going around, like a bit of bent arm exercise, like, you know, your tuck front lever pulls or like your weighted pull-ups or stuff like that, then you can't really go wrong. But the main thing is to really draw those progressions and getting a feel of the actual movement, I think is so key. That's why I'm a big believer in bands, using bands. Like I know some people are against it, but I think they're so great. Like there's such a great way to build confidence and to actually like master the skill, to actually feel like you can do it and envision you doing it and like get a taste of what it feels like. It's so important, I think. So yeah,
I'd love your opinion on this, specifically with regards to bands. So there's kind of two different schools of thought. One is the band around the waist and one is around the feet. What do you believe is the best way?
I use both personally. So I've used in the past so for front lever pulls, I usually get, because the nature of the pull, right, it's more, it's the focus is the pull, right? So I want support on my back and on my legs, because then I can really just focus on the actual pull. Whereas if I'm doing like a front lever hold, for example, and I know that I'm already pretty good with the hold, then I just want limited support, so maybe just around the waist. So I'd use both, just depending on the exercise. But mainly for front lever pulls, because it's a pulling focused motion, and I really want to get the main focus is just the pull, then I want more support around like the back and the legs. But obviously for the holds, I want as little support as possible. So yeah, just a bit of both, I think.
I mean, there's one thing, I completely agree with that, by the way. It really does also depend on the person. We love to watch a guy called Michal Urbanik. Absolute monster. And he also uses bands as well for the purpose of learning the movement. But one thing I think people don't talk about enough, and this is something that me and Sam, we talk about quite a lot, is having enough muscle mass to even warrant doing the move.
100%.
Is that something that you work on?
Totally agree with you. Like that is spot on. Like a lot of people, they actually aren't strong enough to do certain skill. So there's like, you need to know where you're at strength-wise and whether your body actually can handle that skill. But a big part of it is being strong enough. Like if you look at all these Olympic gymnasts, there's a reason why they have massive biceps and shoulders and they can do iron cross and stuff, because they literally have the muscle mass to do these movements, you know. So there is like a fine line where you need to actually build enough mass and you know, muscle on you to do these skills. So I think that's why it's always important to include those compound lifts, like your weighted pull-ups, you know, your weighted chin-ups, weighted dips, all those kind of exercises which are going to make you stronger and like a bit more meatier. That's so important as well for achieving these skills. So I think you need to like have a balance of both, if that makes sense. So,
no, completely agree. I mean, one thing that perhaps we take it too far, Sam loves lateral raises. He loves lateral raises. I guess, you know, follow-on question to that, obviously you talk about compound movements. I think that's a very well-established principle that you have to use those to get bigger.
Definitely.
To what extent would you normally use isolations, like, for example, lateral raises, bicep curls, tricep extensions, to help you build enough muscle to do those skills?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're great accessory exercises. So like, for example, I'm chasing like weighted chin-ups, like I'm chasing the like a 1 rep max for me. So obviously I throw in a lot of like strict bicep curls to you know, help with my lockout, and it's really important to know how to isolate certain muscle groups if you're lagging on certain areas. So I think that's why it all comes down to like you kind of understanding your body and knowing what is like lacking. But those isolation exercises are actually really important. They're very key. I think a good example is like Zanetti presses.
Yeah, we love that one.
Exactly. So that just helps with the straight arm strength. Again, if you can really load it with more weight, and if you're someone that tends to like bend their arms or like not really lock out the arms in the planche, then that's a great exercise for you. So if you kind of, again, understand what's needed for certain skills and really isolate certain movements, then you're going to see a lot more joy as well. And your training will be a lot more efficient for sure.
I think that's what you say. We need to understand the movement. If you don't do it, you're not going to understand the movement.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think that's key.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. One question I was going to ask is, what does your nutrition look like?
Oh yeah, that's very good. Definitely, like, I try to get at least, I'll say 3-4 meals a day. And like calories wise, I don't really count my calories, but I have a rough idea of how much I get, and it's usually between like 2,800 to 3,000 a day. So I think it keeps me in a slight like surplus, almost like a maintenance level. Because right now I'm 75 kilos. I've touched 76 before, so but again, I need to eat a lot for me to really gain weight. And again, it's just that fine balance of like not eating too much to detriment of all my statics. I don't want to lose all my statics and get heavy and sluggish. So it's like just finding that balance. So I've always felt like I've hovered around. Well, now I'm gaining a bit more weight, which is nice because I'm eating a bit more and pushing. So 75, 76 is where I'm at now, which is I feel good at. So if I can maintain that, then I'm happy. And again, I would say in terms of nutrition, it's pretty healthy. Like I may order Uber Eats every now and then, pig out. It's normal, like, you know what I mean? I don't have the perfect diet, but it is balanced. I try to get enough protein in, so I'll try to eat like 1.5 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight a day. I try. So I supplement with shakes. I take like 1 or 2 shakes a day. And then other than that, it's just balanced. So like bit of carbs, bit of protein, So I don't really restrict myself on anything.
So that's interesting. You touched upon supplements. I mean, Sam and I are massive on biohacking as well.
Got you.
We're really into your hot exposure, cold exposure, and also any supplements that you can make up for micronutrients that you might be lacking. How much do you? I'm going to butcher the English language now. How much do you dabble in biohacking and supplementation, and obviously that side of stuff?
Yeah, I mean now I'm not brave enough to do a full 15-minute cold shower, but after my like hot shower, I'll spend like 2 minutes just pure like ice cold every day. So that's every morning, and that just wakes me up. It was uncomfortable at the start, but then your body just gets used to it. It's funny how it gets used to it. And then when if I ever stop and I come back to it again, it's a bit more of a shock. But so you can train yourself to get better at, I guess, accepting that cold exposure. But I think it definitely helps, and it's like quite therapeutic actually. Like I found. So I haven't done too much sauna, but more so the getting massages and having the cold kind of shower. That definitely helps, I think, every morning.
I think the massage topic is interesting because there's a lot of kind of conflicting information out there to suggest whether it's good or bad, post or pre training. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess you as someone who does it quite a lot, how have you found the benefits of massage?
Personally, it's helped me a lot in terms of whether it's just getting it once every other week, once every 2 weeks, or once a week, because I feel like your body does stiffen up, and especially for me, because of my past like injury in my shoulder, I think when certain areas get tight, it can cause impingement a bit. So if I can keep them a bit loose and supple in certain areas, especially around my pecs here, then I feel like I can perform at my best. So I think it's about understanding your body. Like if you feel like it doesn't really help, then don't do it. But for me, I feel like it does help, especially if I get if I keep certain areas a bit more supple, if that makes sense. And then other than that, it's just about rest, knowing when to rest. Like I'm a big believer in listening to your body, and if you're properly fatigued, then rest. Like sometimes I even take 2-3 rest days in a week, like it's, especially if you're really, really going in on your training, you need to know, like if you've had a really, really intense session, you can't perform the next day the same as you would if you were fresh. So it's just about understanding your body, what you can take and what you can't, and trying to optimize your recovery. So
it's the recovery bit is so important. It's very hard as like a creator and a coach to apply the same principles that you give your clients to yourself, because obviously you're always of the mind that I have to produce this, I have to be at my best. If I'm not training every day, I'm not hitting it.
It's true.
It's one thing that actually I've come to terms with recently. Funny enough, shout out to Pat for kind of putting that into my head, because we're massively big on recovery, giving that to our clients and making sure that they're well rested so they can perform the best they can. But I mean, sometimes less is more. I mean, Sam's a massive believer of that. So.
Yeah, I think more often than not, less is more. I mean, my dad's a big believer in that. He reckons you should pretty much do an all-out exercise for one muscle group and then don't even touch it for a week or two. He thinks you'd actually see more strength gain.
Yeah.
The only thing is it's boring.
It is, yeah, it's true. You're right. And I think, like you said, if you do want to train 5 times a week, then you just have to sacrifice that intensity a bit, because that's how I see it, especially when it comes to statics. For me, I prefer doing training more often, frequently, so you get better practice of that skill. You know, you're repeating that movement pattern, so you're building up those neurological pathways. But at the same time, the sessions aren't as intense, so you're not really taxing your body as much. So it'll be shorter, like 45 minutes, an hour max sessions, but you're doing it 4 or 5 times a week. So I find that more optimal for training like statics, for example, rather than doing like 2-3 B sessions of 2 hours where you're just frying your, you know what I mean? Yeah. So again, it just depends how you train. But yeah, I think that plays a big part, like understanding your training volume and, you know, recovery as well is key to smashing your goals, for sure.
So alongside that is obviously warming up. I know I've had this conversation with you. You're very adamant on you need to be warming up a lot beforehand. What does your kind of typical warm-up routine look like? Yeah,
definitely. I feel like more so now. I think in the past when I was younger, I wasn't as, you know, kind of focused on the warm-up. I used to just jump straight to it, which I don't recommend. Trust me, just it's so important to warm up. So now I definitely spend at least 10-15 minutes every day, just even if I'm filming stuff, like just warming up. So I do a lot of like internal, external rotation for the shoulder and stuff. It depends what I'm doing, how I'm warming up. But again, a lot of wrist stretches, a lot of forearm stretches. Again, scapular pulls, other things like that, other banded stretches. Just anything that basically, if I feel tight in certain areas, to just make myself feel a bit more looser and ready to move, basically. Yeah.
One really interesting thing for me, because I also had a shoulder injury, but on both shoulders actually. One thing I would love to know your opinion on is how important do you think strengthening the rotator cuff, so internal and external rotation, is for something like a front lever and a planche? Because what I found is, when I've trained relentlessly on the front lever before and I didn't do external rotation, I did start to see issues crop up in my subscap and whatnot. Okay. But ever since I've started doing it, I feel a lot more stable. Have you kind of seen the same thing? And would you advocate training specifically the rotator cuff before you even start your statics journey?
Yeah, 100%. I think like, I mean, a lot of the movements you do bodyweight wise is going to work your rotator cuffs, especially all of these like movements on the floor, like pipe push-ups where you're like, you know, externally rotating, or like any kind of bodyweight exercise that you're doing, like whether it be pull-ups stuff, you're still working those, you know, muscles, stabilizing muscles, which is great. But obviously if you feel like you're not as stable in the shoulders, then definitely I recommend, you know, doing certain exercises to strengthen your rotator cuffs, because it's only going to benefit the work that you do later on. Like you said, it's going to help improve lever performance. It's going to help improve many different things. So, like, example, like using the rings. A lot of the rings, because it's unstable, you're working a lot of those stabilizing muscles that you wouldn't necessarily work if you're doing stuff on the bars and stuff. So, I think like if you add these little small, you know, things into your training, it's only going to help you in the long run. You know, so for sure, I definitely recommend, especially if you go with statics and stuff, to bulletproof your shoulders, because it does take a toll. Like all of these levers and stuff, they take a toll on your joints. So you do need to be prepared to.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely share that trail of thought. I want to bring it back to your injury because obviously I know about it because I've watched your stuff for a very long time. How did you dig yourself out of the hole mentally? Because obviously, you know, we've both been there. Sam's had an injury. I've had two. It's very difficult to kind of motivate yourself, keep discipline when you're not seeing any results. So how bad was your injury, firstly? And secondly, how did you stay motivated and disciplined?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like, so I partially dislocated my left shoulder. So it's called a subluxation. So like it basically kind of popped out and then slipped back in. But ever since then, it's kind of stretched the labrum. So like it was very, very loose for a long period of time, especially when I was playing football still. So I kind of stopped semi-pro football because it kept like slipping in and out when I was playing. So it kept like literally popping in and out. I would like I'd put my arm out and then someone would push it forward and it would just pop out. Or I might get barged from the back and I'm running full speed and I just land on it and it would just slip out and I'm there like hanging. You know? So it's like it was very unstable for a long period of time. But I used to always like kind of rehab it again, give it time. It would take like a week to fully like let the inflammation go down. Then I can start to rehab it and strengthen everything again. Then after like maybe 6 to 8 weeks, it's fine. Play football again, and then same thing happens. You know what I mean? So it was like I needed really to take time off football and just really focus on recovery. And then I think what helped it is literally building strength and the support structures around my shoulder. So building up my pecs, building up my front delts, my posterior delts, everything, and my lats, everything around this area. By strengthening that, it's really helped stabilize my shoulder. And again, obviously exercise like handstands and stuff like that, you're constantly working, you know what I mean? Everything in the shoulder is working, especially when it comes to stabilization. So I think doing that kind of stuff really helped to strengthen my shoulder up. And again, taking time off like impact sports, that really helped to kind of like regain the stability in my shoulder. So now I feel like I can play football again without, like, I play again for fun without any discomfort or anything. So yeah, I think that's it really, just like strengthening the whole supportive structures around the shoulder, that really helped.
So, I mean, one thing that Sam and I are massive on is mindset, obviously, as part of Grab versus Gravity. So much so that we have made it a full pillar in our coaching programs. Nice, yeah. One kind of like, not quote, but one sort of like situation that I like to think about is a man really needs to have his face in the dirt before he can truly achieve greatness. And I feel like watching your journey for the last 10 years, I feel like that's definitely been the case.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's good to share that, because obviously Sam and I we've been through shit, done silly things, and obviously had to pick ourselves up through it. For you, yours is very much not just a mental barrier, but it was a physical one as well, which is mad, because a lot of people, when you get into a mental place, there's certain things you can do to help remedy that. But when you are truly physically, what's the word I'm looking for? When you are immobilized, right, physically, and you cannot do something, that must suck.
Yeah, it does. Like, even when I was like injured, it's always, you always feel a bit down. But I think what's helped me is having alternative forms of training to combat that. So, okay, fair enough, I can't do anything upper body wise, but my legs still working. I can still train legs. So I was like, during that time, I kind of found new goals and new passions. So obviously, start to work on my mobility, start to work on stretching, trying to get more mobile in certain areas. So I always kind of tried to keep myself busy and like not think about it, and just being accepting. Okay, right now, it sucks, I'm injured, it's annoying, but you still have other things you can do, so I think that's definitely helped me. And then obviously, like, having friends, it's so important to have like a supportive network around you. So if you can just speak to someone about it, or just like talk, like, I think that's great, like having some kind of people to reach out to, I think it always helps.
No, definitely. I mean, one thing that we're massive on, I keep saying things we're massive on because we actually share a lot of our ethos with you, which is sick. Obviously your net worth is your network, or the other way around. Having friends who are actually going to put you in the right situations to help you grow out of it is really good. And this is actually something I want to touch upon next, which is because a lot of our viewers, they will be, the casual kind of gym goer, the person who does go on a night out every Friday or whatever, does like to have a pizza on the weekend, but perhaps wants to be more. How have you found balancing a social life and also, cultivating your friends around you to basically help you elevate not just where you are with abnormal beings, but also you as a person?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important to, like, they know your boundaries and vice versa, their boundaries, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's great to have a social life. Like, I go out drinking, I go out, partying as well. Like, you need to have a balance, I think, like, it's important. Like, you just, as long as you're kind of, like, that you're going to be consistent with certain things and you have a plan in place, and it's not too restrictive, and you can still enjoy it. I think that's the key. Like, and again, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals helps. So, like, I feel like I've grown up always kind of with people that were serious around their training. Like, all my friends that played football, they were very, like, train hard for football, and obviously were quite disciplined with their training. So it would be like, it would never be a case of, let's chill today. Or, we were always quite on it with our training. So I think that's helped, like, having kind of, again, that supportive network of people that are, like, really on training. That's definitely helped. But at the same time, again, knowing that it's okay to, like, have fun, like, you need it. Like, I'm not this guy, like, obviously I portrayed on Instagram or whatever, or YouTube, like, just the training aspect of things, but it's important to have that balance of, you going out having fun, like, don't, try and limit that at the expense of it. You get me? I think it's important to, like, have a balance of everything, just for your own sanity. So
yeah, I think it helps you stay longer in whatever sport you're doing. And one point you said to that, you were kind of fortunate enough to be kind of growing up with people who were kind of like-minded, and who were very focused on training. Now, for a lot of people, they might not be in that similar situation, which I would say, well, the best place to meet people that are going to elevate you and themselves. Because this is what I love about kind of people within the fitness industry, is that they are genuinely happy to see you succeed. Exactly, it's not so like I'm kind of in the corporate environment in the city, and that can be kind of, there's a lot more ego there. Let's just say people are very much, they're in it for themselves. They don't really want to see other people succeed. So if you feel like you're in one of these situations where you might look around you and your friends and family aren't necessarily the type of people that you think are going to elevate you, I'm not saying ditch them. I'm saying the best place to meet people like that is at a gym, a calisthenics class, a yoga class.
Tell you now, go to any calisthenics park, I guarantee you'll leave with like 5-6 new friends, because like everyone's so friendly. Like everyone knows how hard it is, and everyone's on the same journey, and they just want to get better, you know. So I guarantee you, everyone will just help you. Like they'll just give you free tips, you know what I mean? Like you'll meet some new like-minded people just by going to the gym or to the Cali park. So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, literally look at us, right? Like 2 months ago, I said this to my brother just before I left today. 2 to 3 months ago, no one really knew about us. And now, obviously, like, you know, we're posting a lot, and you see us a lot on Instagram and whatever. We're sitting down with you. We've sat down with Dippo. You know, sitting down with Demi Bars and Nick and everyone else, and it's sick because all we did was just go to the parks, be about our business, and obviously meet people. Obviously, you met Sam at Primrose, and then we met formally, I guess, at Coliseum. It's such a nice place, and I think obviously you'll probably know this better than most because you've played football semi-pro. One thing I found about calisthenics that differentiates it from football is in football, because it's such an accessible sport, you do get a lot more ego in football. 100%. Whereas the calisthenics, you can go to the top guys and they will sit down and give you the time of day. Yeah,
100%. There's no ego, because I think like everyone knows like it takes time. Like this stuff is hard. Like, you know what I mean? So I think just everyone's willing to help everyone and just, you know, help grow this sport, which is great, man. And that's why everyone in Primrose, you see it yourself, everyone's so friendly, everyone's so like just chatty, talkative. Like I meet new people every day at the parks, you know. It's such a great feeling, like to know that, you know, people are just on the same journey and they're, you know, you're just on helping each other grow, you know. Like I had people that I looked up to when I first started training in Primrose. They helped me on my journey, you know. And it's just, it's like each one teach one, you spread the knowledge. Like I think that's what's the beauty of calisthenics, you know. And whereas I guess, like you said, in the football situation, it's more competitive, you know. It's like you said, more egos involved. So I don't think there's as much of a community as in Cali, because that's like a proper community.
It is all community based. I know something that Isan says quite a lot. It's like there's no point taking secrets to your grave either.
Oh,
like,
100%,
everyone's been through the journey yourselves. Why wouldn't you give it to other people?
Exactly. I think it's silly, and that's why like I give so much information out on. And there's the same with you guys. That the one thing I love is you give so much value out on your socials, which is amazing, because that's just only going to help grow the scene even more, you know. And I think that's what everyone needs to do, just sharing knowledge and, you know what I mean, just talking to each other and then just building the community, because it's only going to elevate calisthenics as a sport and stuff. So
I feel like we're at this inception point where the graph's about to go exponential. I think we're at this period here where we're just about to see the kind of UK calisthenics scene just go kind of worldwide almost.
Hopefully, definitely. I think again with more competitions and more audience, I think that will definitely bring in a lot more like people to the sport. And again, if a lot more brands get involved and stuff, then that's just going to pump a lot more money into the sport, and again that can take that to the next level, almost at higher rocks CrossFit level. So I can definitely see it reach that stage. Just everyone needs to come together and
So we've obviously had Dippo, who's very heavily involved in Coliseum. I know you are. I don't know if you want to talk about your involvement with them, maybe some upcoming things that you're allowed to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Like again, there's like a lot of things behind the scenes. So Pez, Alexis and Dippo are like the main kind of drivers of Coliseum, and obviously I've been helping out judging and stuff, and now part of the team, and it's great to see what's happening. But trust me, they're really there for the community, and they're really trying to elevate Cali like to the next level, to the point where they're trying to get like universities to really study calisthenics and like get some kind of scientific backing for Cali to even use it, for example, in the NHS as like a form of therapy and stuff, like homeopathy, if that makes sense. So like there's so many different things that's going on behind the scenes that we're trying to make Cali get onto that next level, you know. Obviously we're trying to get more funding for coaches to actually teach Cali in different parks and stuff. So it's like what everyone's doing in the team is just trying to help grow this sport, and like again, by trying to get more competitions going and trying to get more people involved and audience, the more people we can get, because the more audience comes to watch Cali and stuff, then that's when the big money from the big brands are going to come in, and then that's when we can start to pay the athletes and start to pay, you know what I mean? So it's just going to help grow everything. So there is a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So I think, yeah, it's going to be good. We'll just, hopefully things come to fruition and yeah.
I'm sure it will. I mean, if you guys
definitely
keep up like basically the same workload you're doing, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm grateful to be a part of it. Like, it's so nice to see that we're trying to help, you know, grow this scene, because, yeah, there's so many amazing, talented people out there. Like, you know what I mean? It's great to see. So.
On the topic of talented people, here's perhaps a controversial question.
Yeah.
In your eyes, who is the best UK athlete right now?
Ooh, UK in what sense? In like.
So, okay, in different cats. So if you had to rate
yeah.
statics, freestyle, and weighted, I'd say weighted and reps. We'll put them together.
Weighted and reps. Ah, man, that is tough. I would say I gotta go for Michael, man. I can't lie. Michael Kacher, he's just, honestly, I've seen him do some crazy stuff on the bars. Like, he's a monster. Like, honestly, like, monster. Like, I think he's up there as one of the, and in terms of form as well and technique, like the frame shakers in general, like if you know, I'm sure you know about them, they're just, in terms of technique and stuff, amazing. Like they perform Cali at such an elite level. So it's, yeah, man, like I'll say Michael is up, it was obviously one of the best, I think, in the UK right now when it comes to sets and reps. And yeah, in the statics, there's a lot of good people in statics. I think for the UK, Adam, obviously, he's been at Calisthenics a lot. He's strong, man. Like he's.
Do you know what's mad about Adam? We only learned this like several weeks ago.
Yeah.
This guy's not just statics. We were chatting to him and he said that he's completed the 90 kg chin. He's going for 100 now.
Yeah, exactly. He's
like what?
But you see the way he's built. Like he's thick. Like honestly, like he is very like underrated. I think like under the radar. But now again, he's being known as the guy now because he's won Coliseum a couple of times. Like he's got clean one arm front lever, like clean. Like he's doing really seriously strong movements. Like I think he's up there as one of the top guys for statics for sure. Yeah. So.
And then the last one then freestyle. Because to be fair, we don't know too much about freestyle. Who do you think the best freestyler is?
I think freestyle. I'm not too involved in the freestyle scene, but from what I know of in the UK, obviously I think Goku is like one of the top ones out there. Obviously Jay, you know, also Jay, he's a legend in the game, so he's up there. You know, there's loads of big up Kai, Shax. There's a lot of good freestylers out there in the UK, but I think if I had to say one, I would say probably Goku. I think right now, because I think if we're talking about 720s or certain moves like that, then I think he's the one that's got that down. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we're not too involved, but it seems like his name keeps popping up.
Definitely, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's crazy because, like I said, the UK scene, like we are still quite far behind in comparison to like, and I've seen it from going abroad, doing these events with Coliseum. Like the levels in certain countries is ridiculous. Like they are on another level.
But then it's inspiring as well. I don't see any reason why. Because I mean, there was a young 15-year-old, I think, at Coliseum.
Yeah.
He was insane.
Yeah, Rion, he's
what
a beast.
The hell?
Yeah. He was clean. Yeah, honestly, I think he would have got to the final if he just held the moves like a little longer.
Yeah.
Like we were just being very strict with the whole time.
Yeah.
Certain moves.
15 though.
15.
I mean, give him 4
years,
years,
Victorian,
whatever.
He was doing full planche. He was, and it was clean as well. So yeah, big up him. He's going to be big.
There's going to be plenty more like coming from
100%. So I get, like I said, all the younger generation coming up. It's great to see. Like everyone's getting a lot stronger. So yeah.
What along the topic of other top tier athletes, specifically you, what are some of your goals? I guess short-term Cali goals, and what would be some of your like dream long-term Cali goals?
I think again, it's just like I would love to get as strong as possible. You know, like it's hard with balancing work and this, but I've been chasing the 80 kg chin up. That's like one of my goals because I'm very close to it. I've done 75 for I think 1 or 2 reps now, so I'm very close. I think I can get it if I like just spend a bit more time to it. But that's probably one of my top goals. And then obviously just with statics, just like get the full planche like clean. Like, I do have it every now and then. It depends on where my weight is. So if I'm a bit lighter, I can hold it for a lot longer. If I'm a bit heavier, like now I am, not as long. And I would love to clean it up and be really strong at like the planches. I think that'll be like, I guess, next kind of short-termish goal. I think that's quite realistic. But yeah, in the
One arm
future-
handstand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, something that I need to practice. Like that, I've been at a stage where I'm on like one finger for so long, so it's just like, again, just more. I need to dedicate more practice.
Yeah.
You really have to prioritize. So right now, it's not really a priority. So I'm not really bothering, to work on that. For now, it's mainly the weighted chin up. So I always prioritize like one, 2 goals at a time. So definitely the weighted chin up, and then the planche.
We'll be excited to see it.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
100%. This is also one of the most annoying thing about calisthenics is that there's just so much you want to do, and you just have to accept that you're not going to get all of them. Straight away. That you really need to, what we say, like maximum 1 or 2, 1 push, 1 pull. Really.
Yeah, literally, that's it. And I think people need to know how to prioritize, because it's better to really focus down on 1 or 2 things, really master that, and then move on to the next. Then trying to do everything at once, because then I think it's way better to do that.
100%. Okay, right. We are going to move on. So obviously you put a story up asking your followers some questions.
Yes.
We did the same as well. We picked some of the top ones.
Okay, awesome.
So let's have a chat about some of the questions. Yeah. So first one is, it's there. Tips for full planche.
Oh, yes.
In fact, let's make it even more precise. Let's have 2 of your top tips for full planche.
2 of my top tips. Okay. One thing that helped me a lot was doing a lot of bent arm kind of like pseudo planche push-up work, really building up my shoulders. Like honestly, that took my planche game to like a lot better levels, if that makes sense. So again, it just depends on the individual. I always had decent kind of straight arm strength, but I lacked a lot of like kind of the shoulder strength, if that makes sense, like beef shoulders. So it was like, I think that helped me a lot. So doing a lot of like pseudo planche push-ups were really good form, a lot of tuck planche push-ups, any kind of bent arm exercises. And again, just like the holds, man, like literally just doing a lot of holds, like doing tuck holds to advanced tuck holds, and then regressing as you get tired, to the easier progressions and stuff. And obviously like with the banded holds when you're a bit more fresher. So just doing the holds, and it's just about repetition. I can't lie. It's more about being consistent at it and doing it. That's where you see the most joy. So
How nice does a full planche feel?
Oh, it feels good, man. It feels like you proper feel strong when you do it, because it's like you can really feel like everything working from your wrist to forearm to shoulder. Like everything's one unit. It's the exact same feeling as a front lever. Where you're holding. It's just like obviously you're just leaning more forward and holding this full planche position. So it's a great feeling. You do feel super strong, and like because it's such a tough movement, it's very rewarding, because you've put in the time. Like no matter what height or weight you are, like you have to put in the time to get the full planche. So it's a very rewarding feeling for sure. But I think definitely those top two exercises, I think.
Amazing. All right. So on the flip side, you mentioned it. The flip side of this, which is the planche's brother, little brother, however you want to call it. How good is the carryover from weighted pull-ups to front lever?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, the front lever for me is more obviously, I say lats and triceps focused movement. Like core strength, you don't need a lot of core strength to hold a front lever. Like honestly, like if you can do dragon flags comfortably up and down, you pretty much have enough core strength to hold a front lever. It's more so like the lats and the triceps, where that's the point of the lever where you need to be strongest to really hold a clean front lever. So it definitely is important. Like if you can up your weighted pull-up game, it will definitely have good transfer over to your front lever for sure. I think you still need to practice the movement though, obviously, because you need to know how it feels to engage those muscles. So I'll still definitely incorporate some kind of like banded holds with the front lever. Obviously doing some kind of rows as well, that might help, but definitely add in the pull-ups as well, weighted pull-ups. I think those two have a real good carryover when it comes to front lever for sure.
I think the point about the triceps is so understated. I've found that recently, because I've been on my front lever journey for God knows how many years. Yep. And the thing that I found that has limited me the most isn't necessarily lat strength, it's the straight arms.
Straight arms, exactly.
Yeah. Because, a lot of people, when they think about shoulder extension, they always think, oh, okay, the lats, the rear delts, but actually the triceps, especially in that end range.
Indeed, yeah, exactly. So again, when you kind of like break it down and really understand your body and what's lacking, you can isolate those triceps. Like for me as well, with the I can't remember what movement I was trying to do, but when I started to really like isolate the triceps by doing like overhead tricep extensions or certain things, just really like I think I was plateauing at handstand push-ups at a certain stage, and I was neglecting doing a lot of like overhead kind of thing. As soon as I started to isolate that, strength through the roof again. So it's just, again, understanding your body, what's kind of lacking, and if you can really like isolate that as well, that will take your, but you're right, I think the triceps are heavily neglected for the front, and that comes to the point of you saying, are you actually strong, like meaty enough to do the move? Do you have enough muscle?
Look at gymnasts. I mean, their triceps are Jesus Christ,
right? Exactly.
Massive.
So a muscle does play a big part of it. So you should want to actually build muscle as well. Like, you know what I mean? Training for hypertrophy is also going to help with your static skills as well. There is an importance to it as well, for sure.
Definitely. No, honestly, like just reiterating that point.
Yeah.
All right. Third question. And this is probably one we've answered before on a different podcast, but it'd be great to get your perspective. Tips for big guys in calisthenics.
Oof, yeah, I mean, I'm obviously not the biggest guy, but yeah, definitely like I'll say medium, high. I think from who I've spoken to, and shout out Juan Forgia, he's a good mate of mine. He's big, right? He's like 6'2", 6'3", he's like proper 90 plus kg. So from what I've seen from him, he's been very consistent. So very, very consistent, and he trains hard. Like you got to understand it, just the way how like morphology works. It's going to be a lot more stress on your joints for statics, so it's going to be naturally harder. But if you put in the time and work, you will still get the results. But you just need to be consistent. So I think that's one thing, and again, just trying to try to keep yourself motivated and understand that it may take a little bit longer, but it is possible. Like I've seen guys that are like, I've had a couple clients of mine that 6'4", they can do front levers. You know what I mean? Like I've seen 6'4" guys that can do back levers. It's possible. Like obviously planches, very, very techy, may not happen as much, but straddles are very possible. And, you can actually hit these levers at a heavy weight. So it's just about putting in the time and effort. But yeah, for the guy that he got his front lever, it took him about 2-3 years for it. So it does take time, but if you're willing to put in the work, you'll get the results.
It'll be more rewarding though for the person that's taken that much longer. The feeling 100%. Of actually getting it will be ecstatic.
100%, yeah, definitely. Like it's like you said, very much more rewarding. And again, if you truly love and into Cali, you're gonna stay consistent with it, and yeah, you will nail it. But I would say just be prepared. It's gonna take a bit of time.
A lot longer, yeah. Well, I think what me and Nissan definitely agree on is the kind of bigger you are and taller, you tend to respond a lot better to packing on a lot more muscle, specifically weighted Cali.
Yeah.
Like it seems like a lot of the tall people are very strong at weighted Cali.
Strong. Like naturally, you're gonna be lifting some heavier numbers, which is a great thing. So again, there's always perks and cons to being certain weights and heights. So it's just genetically like how you're built. You know what I mean? You're already going to be at a certain advantage or disadvantage with certain things. So that's the beauty of everyone, though. Everyone's built differently, so you're going to excel in certain things and not as strong in other things. It's normal. But as long as you practice, then regardless, you can see progress in whatever area. So
yeah, no, definitely. Okay, next question. What does your current training split look like?
Yeah, good question. I mean, right now I've been focused more on legs. So I've been trying to get, like you said, you see me doing a lot of legs. So I'm trying to get my back squat to 140. That's like my goal. I've 130, 135 I'm at right now. So I'm close, but I've been doing 2 leg days a week. So right now it's like 2 leg days, and then I'll do like a push and a pull day. So I've been taking a bit of a backseat on push and pull. Usually I'll do push and pull twice a week, but now it's more so kind of leg focused. So yeah, 2 leg days and then 1 push, 1 pull a week, and that will be like weighted sit down. Because I'm only doing 1 day a week, I really go hard on those push and pull days. So I do a lot of weighted stuff and supersets and just other things to really just fatigue my body. So
I think that's again cognizant of the point that you made earlier, which is you've got to prioritize, and I think you're obviously very good at that because you've been able to say, right, well, if my goal is to get the 140 squat, I need to prioritize
exactly. You need to train your legs at least twice a week, like 3 times a week. If usually, like if you have a leg program, usually you just do legs. You really have to prioritize. So I think that's what you have to accept sometimes, that you may have to take a backseat on certain things if you have other goals in mind. So yeah, right now that's just kind of something. And again, having these goals helps me stay consistent because it's like I'm not bored. It keeps me switched on and doing things. So yeah, but in the past I've done push pull splits and done like that twice a week. So it'll be like 4 or 5 times a week and 1 leg day. So I'll train 5 times a week. But then obviously my training sessions aren't as intense, so they'll be a lot shorter. But obviously because I'm training more frequently. So that was great for when I'm doing more static work because I get more practice of that movement. So again, it just depends on your goals really, how you structure your training. But for now, it's again very much more leg focus.
Cool. No, it's good. That's good. Okay, slightly. In fact, actually, let's. I'm going to bring one of the other questions up because it kind of fits in. We talked about it already. It's the question is, what's your nutrition like? But I'm going to kind of make that a bit more specific. Give us one day.
Yeah.
A day. So from morning to evening, what does Tayo's nutrition look like?
Okay, cool. So morning, it will be like 3 eggs. Sorry, 2 eggs, and then 2 egg whites. So like 4 eggs, and then maybe have like a bowl of porridge with some honey and like a bit of cinnamon and like some little seeds, like or blueberries or whatever. So again, that's kind of like my breakfast if I have breakfast, and sometimes I may like fast where I don't really eat anything until like 12 or 1ish. But that would usually be my first meal if I do eat. So then I would make myself some rice and chicken. So pretty basic. Like I go Aldi a lot to shop. I think it's great, like good quality and it's cheap. So I get like these rice, like quinoa rice packets, quite nice. Or there's like loads of different Spanish style grain rice. So 1 pack of that, and then I would make myself chicken breast, so diced chicken breast, and mix that with like some sauces and stuff. So it's a bit of flavor, and then so I have that as like a lunch or pre-workout meal. Post-workout, I'll have like some fish. So I usually get sea bass fillets, so that's quite nice. So I usually eat a lot of chicken and fish as like my main protein sources. So sea bass fillets, and then again, a packet of rice or whatever. And then in the evening, I might go Uber Eats. So I might just order something. There's this Lebanese joint. I usually get a lot of Lebanese stuff, so a lot of hummus, a lot of bread, a lot of, you know what I mean? Maybe a wrap or something. And then, in the evening time, I might get cereal. So like a little cereal.
Oh, man.
I love cereal.
That you just made me hungry just saying cereal, bro.
Bowl of cereal.
What cereal though?
Sorry?
What cereal? What's the most
So
elite
mine's
cereal?
it's like granola with chocolate chips and stuff like that.
He knows.
Yeah,
It's the
so-
crunchy nut clusters kind of with chocolate swirls.
Yeah, nice, man. So that, and then maybe you have some Greek yogurt or something with extra protein.
That's
and then
our favourite.
yeah.
I love Greek yogurt.
Greek yogurt's
man.
nice, yeah, exactly. And then I'll just supplement with 1 or 2 shakes a day. And then that's kind of like a rough day. Like if I wanted to have extra stuff, I might have like a sandwich, like a tuna sandwich or something that I make, or I might get out as well on the go. So it's just a balance, you see. So like sometimes I'll order out as well, or if I'm not cooking, I'll order out. If I have my chicken or fish there, I'll just make that, and then so it's just a balance of both really. But I tend to have like 3-4 meals a day with the shakes. So.
I'm jealous, bro. I'm jealous. I'm not built like you, so I have to be a lot more restrictive in some senses. But one day when I give up calisthenics, I'll be like you.
That's the thing. Like I think your body, like for me, it's weird. Like my body reacts really well to carbs. Like I know a lot of people, like especially when it comes to gluten and stuff, they might be gluten sensitive, so you feel bloated and stuff. So for me, I just feel like like, you know what I mean, for training and stuff is great. Like I can just bang rice and pasta and bread, you know, just like, and not affect me luckily. So that's helped me a lot, I feel, like especially with gaining weight, like as in, you know, increasing my calories and stuff. So sure.
Yeah. That's really insightful, to be honest. I think that's a really good topic to perhaps do another podcast on another time. Sure. Okay, the next one, and we kind of touched on this as well, but if you had to, again, I'm going to summarize it. If you had to describe where the UK scene would be in 10 years' time, how would you describe it?
Hopefully, like competing internationally with these other athletes across the world, like on a serious level, like really, because I feel like there is a lot of strong people in the UK, and like we can get even stronger, especially the younger generation. So I would love to see a lot more competitive athletes in the Cali scene. And I would love to see more indoor kind of Cali facilities. I think that would be amazing. Like if there would be more kind of indoor Cali things, I think people would be more inclined to train year round, and it would just help like elevate the levels of everyone. So I think that, and obviously getting, if we can maybe televise Cali, that would be sick, you know, competitions. I think that could be like a main thing if everyone like kind of helps grows the name of the sport. So in 10 years time, I really hope it gets to that level. For sure. Yeah,
I think that's such a good point about the televising calisthenics. Obviously, Sam and I, we used to skate back at uni. Sam kind of took it a lot longer. Skateboarding made it to the Olympics, which is sick. So there's absolutely no reason why calisthenics perhaps don't make it to the Olympics because there's gymnastics, but at least get on the television. That'd be amazing.
Exactly. I don't see why weighted couldn't become as big as powerlifting.
100%, like street lifting, for example. Like as it is, street lifting now, I think if they really kind of like you said, took it to it could potentially be an Olympic sport, you know, like if you're doing like a a squat, a weighted pull, a dip, or you know what I mean, something like that. It could just be even those two events, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, like you said, skateboarding's in the Olympics now. I feel like Cali is just as extreme. It's a bit more free. I think it should be separated to gymnastics because it is very much different. You know, it's a very expressive kind of form of sport, so almost like an extreme sport. So I think it could definitely be, you know, shown as that. Like very similar to parkour or breakdancing, that kind of aspect of it. So yeah, hopefully it can get to that stage. Yeah.
Let's all pray for that.
Yeah. Sure.
Final one is, and this is again very topical because we did touch upon this. What injuries could you expect, and how would you avoid them?
I think shoulder injuries are very common. Again, ball and socket joint is very free moving. It's very susceptible to injury. So I think the shoulders are very important for Cali. Like, regardless of what you do, you've got to look after your shoulders, you know. So definitely making sure that they're mobile. You know, you can get into, if you can get a full shoulder flexion, extension, external, internal rotation, just the basics, feeling okay and not stiff, because certain movements require you to get into certain positions, and if your body's not prepared for that, that's just, you're gonna get you injured. So I think the shoulder is very important to look after. I think that's like the main thing to keep, I guess, supple and strong, if that makes sense. So I would say watch out for that for sure. And then other than that, I mean, a common injury I've seen like happen, especially on Instagram, is bicep tears. So I've seen so many, man. It's disgusting, like when it rolls up, like from doing like hay festos or from doing, you know, heavy weighted pull or whatever, chin or, so it's like, those two, I think, be prepared.
Yeah, watch out, guys. Make sure you're following Summer Tyler's conditioning stuff as well, because obviously you're mad. I remember. So shout out to your friend Shaq.
Shaq, yes.
Yeah, so mutual friend, we met him at Primrose. I remember when we were talking about you, he said, you know what the great thing about you is that you do all the boring shit that no one wants to do, and this is why you are at where you're at. And I think that, you know, in response to that question, just like you said, you've got to prepare your joints
100%.
Before you do this stuff, because I've been guilty of it. Sam, you've been guilty of it. I know pretty much everyone apart from you. I've
been guilty of it in the past. So
there you go.
Everyone, you know, it's true. We tend to forget, but it's so important. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Amazing. I think we're pretty much at time now. Yeah. So I'm just going to quickly say, before I plug all your socials in a second, Sam, have you got anything you want to say?
Not currently at the moment. No, I'm sure I'll think about one as soon as the podcast ends. But yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on, mate.
No, likewise. Honestly, thank you for having me, guys. It's been a great pleasure to talk about Cali and get to know more about you guys and having me on the pod. So thank you, man.
No, man. Honestly, we appreciate it. And like we said, you know, if there is ever the opportunity again, we'll have you down. Perhaps even I think the nutrition one is definitely one worth talking about, because with calisthenics, everyone always focuses on training.
Yeah, sure. 100%.
And that's the other half of the equation. But, you know, as I said, as I would do, we are going to drop his socials. I'm sure most of you already follow him. If you don't, I'd be very, very surprised. But we will drop all his socials down there. And yeah, I guess we'll hopefully have him back on. So,
100%.
Tyler,
my bro.
It's been amazing.
Thank you so much for everything. So, legend, bro. Honestly, killed it.
Amazing, guys. Okay, so we will catch you on the next one. Do your conditioning. Like Tyler said, do your conditioning and stay strong.